So it's 7:30 in the morning. Let's jump on and talk about discipline and motivation, because I think that's like an important thing for me, and it's something that people should hear about, because people want freedom, they want to improve their life in some way, shape or form, but yet struggle with this whole idea of getting themselves to do something, being motivated to do hard things. What I've learned in the last few years is what discipline actually is and how to get motivated. So I've got a few notes on the screen here. I thought it'd be cool to buzz through a few things, help you get discipline, help you get more motivation to do the things you don't actually want to do, but you actually secretly want. The first thing is talking about how everything is a struggle. And I think I got this from a quote from a Mark Manson book. I remember reading one of his books years ago called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. The book is about that. It's about not caring about mindless, mundane stuff and actually understanding what you should prioritize. And there's a quote in that book, I think, and he talks about the fact everything is a struggle. Everybody is looking to reach a goal. People are striving to do things, but they're not motivated to get there and do the things that will get them there. And what people fail to realize is that everything is actually a struggle. You being broke, if you are not financially where you want to be, or you striving towards an even bigger goal, be it personal, career, whatever it is, spiritual, emotional, relationships, there's always a trade-off and there's always a struggle involved in reaching it. It's never an easy path. People are always looking for this easy way to do things. Like, how do I make this easier? Now, the further and further I've gone through the last few years of learning things, I actually look for hard things to do now, because I realize the hard things that come up is actually your guidance and your roadmap. I don't know if you've ever come across like something hard, something's come up in your life, your brain perceives it as a hard thing and it instantly reverts to looking for an easy way around it. How do I make this easier? How do I make this simpler? How do I not do the thing altogether? How do I avoid it? And what fails to happen here is you actually fail to make any progress, because the hard thing that's being presented to you is actually the thing you really should do. And the more and more this has come up, the more and more I've accepted these challenges and tried as hard as I can to do hard things and search out hard things, because I know people aren't willing to do the hard things in most cases. So therefore I get ahead and get where I want to be. But it's also like a personal thing of mine as well. It's not a skill that happens to develop overnight. It's something that takes years and years and years, like a muscle, to develop, to actually do hard work, because we're programmed instinctively to do easy things, or to avoid the hard things, should I say. The thing that will pull you through when something gets hard, but inside you know it's the thing that you really need to do, it's having a meaningful purpose behind it, or like making something worthwhile. I have like a bit of an equation here. It's like a discipline equation, and it states that the subjective importance of a goal plus the psychological enjoyment minus the psychological cost. That is the equation for discipline, like whether you will do something or not, or feel motivated to take action on something. So take an example, a mundane day-to-day thing like taking out the trash or the bins. It's not fun. There's probably some high friction involved with going outside if it's cold, taking the bins out, walking them to the front of the garden where the bin men can go and get it. But it drives action. Necessity drives action, right? Versus a gym habit. Let's just say a consistent daily gym habit of you showing up every single day, lift weights, actually working on yourself. This has a very high subjective importance. I mean, I would hope it would anyway. If the psychological enjoyment because of that is increased, but the psychological cost is, it could be harder to get yourself to do it, this is like a meaningful thing, right? The chances are of you doing that are going to be much higher if you attach a meaningful goal to it, or a meaningful reason why. That is the thing that creates discipline. I've found this a lot in my life. Attaching meanings to actions. If there is something hard that I want to do, and I'm facing this resistance, the reason that I'm able to do the hard things in most cases, or at least attempt these hard things rather than just trying to avoid it completely, is I have meaningful targets that are attached to these things. It's become more apparent as years have gone on, especially now that I realize the importance of time, like really understand it. Time is the most important asset because it's finite. Like, we're all going to die one day. I don't know where you are watching this in terms of like how far through life you are, but I'm 34 years old right now. Still feel young as hell. Don't feel like I've aged too much. Still probably do things that I did when I was like 18 years old. Like, that constantly weighs on me. It's a constant thing of like, it's a daily reminder. Like, how many days have you got left on this planet? Because that will then negate how I spend my time in the day-to-day stuff. And maybe what has become more apparent is sometimes how where I'm wasting my time, where my time could be spent better in more valuable things, what I'm actually prioritizing. Because it might not seem like much, but say for example you get pulled away from a meaningful task for what feels like 5 or 10 minutes to help somebody out or to do something. That 5 or 10 minutes is not 5 or 10 minutes. Like if you are focused on a task and you get pulled away from it for a 5-minute mundane thing, it probably will take you another 30, 40 minutes to get back into a focused area and back what you're working on. So in that 5-minute window, you've actually lost more like an hour or half an hour or something. And if that happens so many times throughout the day, you've lost hours in your day. Expand that over a week, a month, a year, you've probably lost days or even weeks over a year just doing unproductive shit that isn't actually moving the needle on anything or helping you get where you want to be. And time is always like this ticking time bomb. It's always ticking down. No one's living any longer right now. We all go out of this place in the same fashion or same way. So time has become very important to me rather than just money, for example. A lot of people measure their wealth or success based on how much money they have in a bank account. But what I've come to realize now is what true wealth actually is. And it's measuring where I'm at in terms of wealth is money, but it's also how much time I have to do things, who I can spend it with. That's how I measure things now. Time is infinitely more valuable, and that's one of the biggest drivers I use to discipline myself into doing the hard things. So how do you enhance your discipline? How do you actually get motivated? I think people get this backwards. I would start small. Some of these are going to sound overly simple, but that's the whole point of it. So if you watch this far in this video, then congrats to you because you're not looking for some quick dopamine fix. Like, just listen to the words I'm saying and actually do them, and you'll be surprised at where this will take you. Start small. I started small. I remember reading a quote or listening to something. Someone told me to make your bed every morning. When you think about that, it is the smallest of tasks. Getting out of your covers and then putting the covers back so it's a neat and tidy bed. It doesn't seem like much, and in the moment, it probably won't give you anything close. It won't get you any closer to where you want to be. But in the long-term things, that small step of discipline every single morning now sets me up for my day, and it gets me into a routine. Doing small things like that is what makes the bigger things easier, or doing hard things easier. And it doesn't have to be making your bed. Making your bed was just the thing that I've adopted. It could be something as simple as waking up and doing 10 push-ups. It could be waking up and doing, having a glass of water. But if you do that every single day, that's just your discipline muscle being worked. Start small. Make things easy. I think a lot of people struggle with motivation and discipline because they make things hard for themselves. They don't make it easy. If I have a big task in front of me, like right now, we're currently going through revamping one of our courses that teaches you how to build a brand on the internet, and sell physical products on platforms like Amazon and Shopify. And we're currently going through that and revamping it all and making it like the best product ever, like the best fucking thing we can make. It's a monumental task, but when you break it down into these small chunks, you can make this big task seem way more achievable. And I think a lot of people, when they have this big thing in front of them, this big mountain to climb, they just look at this big mountain and think, fuck, I'm down here and I've got to get up there. Whereas if you make things easy, the step to making progress becomes way faster and way easier, way less friction. So what do I mean by making things easy? Put things in their place where it's easy for you to access. Say, for example, you need to drink more water. Put yourself out a bottle of water that's ready to go. Or make it easy. And these sound ridiculous. I know it sounds fucking stupid. These are all psychological triggers that your brain recognizes. If you are struggling with something hard, you'll always find the very first thing the hardest thing to do. Like for me, recording videos and stuff, it's quite second nature now. But if I know I've got a monumental task of recording all these videos, this course, I'm like, God, this is tough, because I struggle with sometimes. But I know as soon as I set my camera equipment up, there's something as simple as that, and I sit down, that's my first step to getting the whole thing done. As soon as I hit record and record the first 10 seconds, that's me in. I'm locked in. And it only takes that 10 seconds to overcome that big monumental bit of resistance. When people are saying they're not motivated to do things, and they're looking for motivation, or they're waiting for motivation, they've got this big thing they want to achieve, but they can't do it because they're not motivated. I would argue your motivation comes from being disciplined. You be disciplined, you do the hard things, and then you get motivation, which then makes you more disciplined, which then makes you more motivated. And it's like a cycle that just keeps growing and growing until you develop this muscle that makes it less of a resistance to do hard things. And you can see a path. And you get to a point where you search out doing hard things and you embrace it versus trying to avoid them. So it is a psychological switch. And I feel most people are actually searching for this elusive thing of motivation, which I think is bullshit. You need discipline, because discipline equals freedom. That's how it is. But people will never see that, or most people will never see that. So how do you overcome resistance? So if you're faced with something hard, How do you overcome it? How do you get yourself to do the thing? Well, at the start of this video, I talked about having meaningful reasons why behind your actions. And for me, some of the meaningful things are from things that have happened in my past. And it is proving people wrong. It is maybe a bit of an insecurity. But proving people wrong is a big motivation of mine. Maybe they haven't meant it deeply, but they've said subtly, like, that's basically saying you can't achieve that. And if someone tells me I can't do something, my brain goes into hyperdrive and figures out ways to do that thing. And it will go above and beyond to make sure that happens, to prove that person wrong. This has happened with like family stuff. I remember like when I was living back at home with my parents, like it was really hard because I was constantly trying to go my own path and do my own thing, but being met with this resistance of, when are you going to get a real job, Alex? You need to start paying bills soon, and this, that, and the other. And my brain is like trying to ignore that and focus on what I know I need to do. And over the years, that has become even more apparent when people haven't believed in me. And I've just been like, fuck, I'll show you. I'll fucking show you. And then I go and do the thing, and it makes me motivated. And that's just through discipline and motivation, or discipline that creates the motivation. And it's a very, very deep burning motivation for me, that. Now, there is a balance, right? I've written this down here. There's a balance between being dragged by your insecurities and being driven by your aspirations. So I think it's a very fine line, because I think if you're solely dragged by your insecurities, like shame or proving people wrong like I do, you then are maybe doing things for the wrong reasons. Or I'd question that and ask, are you doing things for the right reasons? If it's a fine balance of proving people wrong like I am, but also having aspirations that are driving you, then that's a very good balance to have. And if you recognize that, you'll go much further and you'll be much more satisfied once you reach those goals, for sure. Versus shaming yourself into doing things, reaching said goal or proving someone wrong only to find it's not actually the thing you want. That's annoying. That's not where people want to be. And that's kind of why I coined this video, how to avoid a secretly painful life, or something like that. That's what I probably will title this video. Because I feel people want this discipline, but they're just like, I don't know how to get it. And they think they need motivation, but they don't. They need the discipline first, and then they get the motivation. That's how it works, and that's what people should realize. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. There are some videos up here you should go and check out next. I'll see you in the next video.